here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat, bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
I was recently on a podcast with my dear friend Tia, who's also a sex coach, and she was sharing with me about early in her sex life where she would not communicate or she would not make sounds like moaning, which is a nonverbal way of communicating pleasure, because she kept getting that misinterpreted by her partners as signs that she already came. And so her clever solution was, well, if I don't communicate this, then they won't misinterpret when I'm not coming. And it was a great conversation because this happens all the time. How we contain ourselves because we don't want that to be misinterpreted. But what that trips up is A, it doesn't allow us to be in our fully blown pleasure. But then B, like it's again this pattern of, in this case, men, but of course we know that this can be any gender, the projection instead of the attunement. The attunement is I can watch you, you're moaning, but your body's not going through these contractions, or you're not your back's not arching, or we haven't experienced these body communications that would have told me that you orgasmed. And maybe that even comes back down to, I mean, attunement is presence, but also like knowing how bodies work, or knowing what it is that we're looking for when somebody is in full climax, or women, how women's bodies work. That also might contribute to better attunement. Or even using communication and checking in versus saying, have you come yet? Which honestly puts a lot of pressure onto our partners. But we can even check in with, like, where are you at? Or what does it look like when your body is in full pleasure? Or what does it look like when you are climaxing? What is that? Tell me, describe that to me. Like, oh, that's so sexy, you know? And using your words really do help both people to be on the same page of co-creating activity together that feels supportive, that feels safe, that feels caring, that feels like you see me, you're with me, you're in this with me. Like, we want to be sexually or sensually, pleasurably expressed, but we all have limits or needs, and we have desires. And if we somehow cannot use our words, whether it's due to conditioning of this belief, like I'm not deserving to be able to ask for what I want, or I'm afraid of rejection, or I'm afraid that me asking for what I want is going to risk the loss of connection with you, or I'm going to be a burden. Like I see those a lot. Or maybe it's related to trauma. Like we can't speak up our words because of past experiences where we were violated, or we were told to shut up, we were told to stay quiet. Or I once had a guy when I was like in peak pleasure tell me, like, he's like, actually I've had this a couple of times with guys who told me to be quiet, or they don't want to be heard by their roommates, or by their by the neighbors, or by friends. And that is enough to be very jarring to a woman, because she's in surrender. She is in the act of fully letting go, which is so vulnerable. And then you tell them to shush. And then that can be enough to contract them and tense up. So A, they can lose their orgasm in the moment, but also B, condition them that it's not okay, it's not safe, it's not desirable to express sound. Pressure from a partner to show up in a specific way, or to look a specific way, or to not have needs, like any of these unspoken contracts that that we seem to sign with another person, that we're supposed to show up in a certain way. Like, honestly, this non-communication is it's got to go somewhere. And our body will speak this, even if our words don't. And so when we're not speaking, but our body is tensing or contracting, instead, we call this guarding. And this is the nonverbal attempt of our bodies to communicate to prevent something that we don't want. And this isn't always clear for our partner or for another person what it is that we're communicating.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex, Love, Psychedelics.